Hello everybody, Rick here and welcome to a new Devlog video. I've officially been in quarantine for over a week now, and if on one side it's been hard to be stuck at home, on the other side I've been trying to really take advantage of the extra free time that I've got to work on the game. I'm trying to keep as much as possible the same routine that I had before the quarantine, so going to sleep and waking up at around the same time. But the good thing is that since I don't need to commute to my work, I can easily save 3 hours per day, and this time has mainly gone into working on the game. I can say that overall I've been pretty productive, so I'm gonna go over all of the things that I've implemented, and then towards the end of the video I'm going to do a short demo so that you can see in-game all of the things that I've implemented. So first of all, the inventory. In my last devlog, I showed you the very first implementation of the inventory and the items, but a lot of functionalities were missing and I didn't have really a design for the inventory. So the very first thing that I did is to actually design the UI for the inventory. The current design now is way smaller. There was no need to have a full screen inventory. Each item is shown in a 16 by 16 slot, and I can design the number of slots and I can scroll through them. I can sort the items according to their types. I'm gonna come back to this point in a moment. I can use the mouse to drag the items from one slot to the other, and whenever I hover over one item, the name of the item appears and a bigger image of the item so that you can see it nicely. And below the item you can see a bar which indicates how many energy points the item is worth, and the idea here is that you can destroy the items and collect the energy from the items if you need the energy points for other tasks that you need to perform in the game. The bigger part that you can see in the lower part of the inventory is your energy points, and whenever you destroy one item, the energy points that the item is worth are going to be transferred into the player collected stored energy points, and those can be used in-game. Talking about items, let me show you the ones I've got so far. These ones are just some test items to work on the functionality of the inventory. I've got sort of a chip here, which is going to be a very basic item for crafting. The second item here is what I call the enemy heart. If we have a look at the new enemy design, as you can see, this corresponds to the thingy on its side. This is where you should attack to destroy the enemy, and I like the idea of collecting this part and use it to craft other items. This is going to be a basic source of energy used for crafting items. The third item here is sort of like a connector that you can use to link different parts, and this again is going to be a basic crafting item. As for the items that you can craft, I got this basic sort of like energy storage container that you can obtain by crafting different items, and I like to use this item to fix certain things in game. Let's say for example that in game there is maybe an engine or some sort of device which is not working anymore. You can use this energy container capsule thingy to fix that engine or that device. I also got this random item here that I'm not sure what I should do with. I've also worked a lot on the coding aspect of the items. The items are now stored in a dictionary in a global script, which can be accessed from any point within my code. This makes it very easy to add loots, for example, or to call a certain item. I just need to specify the index of the item, and then all the information about the item is stored in this dictionary. The next major thing that I worked on is the crafting station. When I first started brainstorming ideas for the crafting station, I really wanted it to feel like an engineering bench. I really like the idea of collecting items, placing them on your engineering bench, and then crafting the item together, and so that's how I came up with this design. Let me explain it to you real quick. As you can see, we have 6 squares, 5 small squares and 1 big square in the middle. The big square in the middle is the item that you'd like to craft, and the 5 square around are the materials needed to craft the item. In order to craft a certain item, you need a recipe, and the recipes are on a list on your side. So if I select one recipe, for example, you'll see that a certain number of items are now grayed out. Each recipe can require 2, 3, 4, or 5 materials, and then with these materials you can craft a single item. The materials that are needed are grayed out, as well as the item in the middle. The idea here is that you can drag the items from the inventory onto your crafting bench. Once you have all the materials needed, you can craft the item. This took me quite some time because it was the very first time that I coded draggable items, and I needed to make sure that recipes worked correctly and that you could match the items in your inventory inventory to the grayed out items, but everything seems to be working as it should. So I'm very proud of this crafting station right now. Also, in my opinion, it does look like a mini game, and I really like this more concrete interaction between your items in the inventory and another interface instead of just selecting items in a list. It really does feel to me that you are actually crafting the item because you are placing the items from your inventory onto a different interface. And I'd really like to play more with this concept to have some more interaction with the world. So instead of just needing to press a button in the environment to do a certain action, I can come up with puzzles with a given specific interface, which requires you to place items from your inventory onto the puzzle thingy. And if you solve the puzzle, something opens, for example. So I'm really excited about this whole dragging items from your inventory functionality and what can be done with it. The next thing I added in the game is chests. These are pretty straightforward. With items now implemented in the game, really needed a way to collect some items. Here the idea is pretty simple. I just drew the sprite for the chest. I make sure that visually you knew whenever a chest was open and closed. Really like the color in the center. When it's red, the chest is closed, and whenever you open it, it turns blue so that you can see very easily which chest is open and which one is not. Also in code, it's very easy to choose what item to include in the chest. I just need to specify the item index and everything works as it should. Now, before we move on to the demonstration, the next feature that I added in the game is a minimap. A lot of you guys have suggested a minimap, and I've been wanting to add one ever since I first started working on this game. I finally took the time to work on this functionality, and it's worked pretty well. The map is drawn automatically in code, and all I needed really were tile maps. What I'm doing is that I define an input tile map and an output tile map. What the code does is that it takes the input tile maps and all of the cells used in this tile map. You take the position, and it converts those input cells into singular, unique pixels in the output tile map. What you come up in the end is a nice little map. What's very nice about this is that I can actually draw different tile maps sort of like on tops of each other. So I can show in my mini map the platform in one color and the ruins in another color, the player in a different color, the items in another color. So I can add a lot of functionality to the tile map. I could add pretty easily an upgrade which allows you to see where all the chests are located, or where all the coins are located, or where the enemies are if I wanted. But enough talking, let me show you in-game all of these different features. First of all, the minimap that you can see on the top right, you can see pretty nicely the player moving around with its yellow pixel. The one thing that is missing right now is a way to make part of the minimap invisible. I'd like to only show pixels which are within a certain distance from the player so that you don't see the map at once, at least when you first visit a certain area. I've added a couple of chests in this area so that we have enough materials for the crafting. If we open the inventory, as you can see here on the side, we have all the items that we need, and let's try to craft one of the two recipes that we have here. So as you can see, I can easily drag the items onto the crafting station, and I can craft the item, which now appears on the side with a different color. Different background color tells you whether it's a material or a crafted item, and other special items are going to be stored with a different color. I'm also going to craft the other item from the second recipe. As you can see here, we are done. I can close and open my inventory and the crafting station, and everything seems to be working fine. I'd like to end this video with a small announcement. One of my resolutions for 2020 was to release an alpha of the game every 4 months, and April is basically around the corner, so I have decided to release an alpha 2.0 of Quantum Ruins at the end of April. So I'm giving myself a full month to polish everything that I've got so far, come up with a nice playable demo. So this is going to be my little challenge for the month of April. I'm very excited about it. And on that note, thank you so much for 12,000 subscribers, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful, productive day, and I'll see you in my next video.